This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Wednesday, July 24th of 2024, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I talk with Brian Waddingham. He is the Executive Director of the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers, and they recently did their annual study to learn a bit more about the ag industry's impact on Iowa's economy. Lots of great things learned from that report. But before we go over any of that, let's take a look at the closing markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, we're here with Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. Kenan, thanks for taking the time to join us today. What are we seeing in the grain markets as we approach the close?
Mixed day across the grains. Started off the day strong. Corn was mixed across the board with the front months being up a little higher. Soybeans led the day lower, and wheat was mixed. Spring wheat being down with the Chicago and Kansas City being slightly higher today.
And we saw those nice rallies on Monday. So even with some mixed results from the markets today, are we still mostly holding on to the gains that we saw earlier in the week?
Somewhat holding on to the gains. I like to always remind producers, kind of take stock of like where we were before, July 8th and early July and some of those prices. And those might serve as some pretty strong resistance here for this market if we can get back to those. If you weren't a seller there, I think it's important that you make a game plan. What level are you willing to sell at, and, what's right for your farm, or what strategies can you use to protect against more downside movement if we aren't able to make, some more highs or things of that nature, and we hit some resistance and this market reacts negatively.
And of course, we are looking for market reactions right now, but primarily we're worried about pollination at this point in the crop season, and we're getting a little past that at this point, but markets focusing mostly on the weather. So when we have nice weather like we've been seeing, it's a bit tough to get anything out of the markets, right?
Yeah, a lot of the rally was attributed to weather premium, and that's one reason that soybeans might have led the way. The yield potential on soybeans is set a little later in the year than corn, and especially wheat, which is harvested or heading and being treated for that fusarium fungicide. So, soybeans might be a little bit more volatile here and maybe have some more upside potential. But as you did note, corn, a lot of it is denting in certain areas. I'm up here in North Dakota, and we're starting to see some tassels in some areas, but, very variable crop up here. So the full corn crop isn't made, but like you said, there's been some good weather, which has led, support to having a good large corn crop here this year.
And then looking at the other side of the ag marketplace in the livestock complex, how did cattle and hogs trade today?
Feeder cattle were down, so pretty good on the day. And then live cattle were down in the back months. The front month had to stay up with that cash price. Packers were paying some pretty good premiums for there, and hogs were also up today, continuing their rally.
And good to see that rally as well. And we've mentioned this a lot recently, especially when we were towards the end of May, beginning of June, because at that point last year, prices weren't so good. So to see the hog prices at this level, very nice to see. And, even with demand kind of sputtering out, as we've seen from getting past the 4th of July holiday and that peak grilling season demand, good to see those prices staying at least with a little bit of support.
Yeah, that's good to see. Good to see that, hogs have rebounded here off of their lows, and that, cash price in cattle, feeders were a little bit off. The feeder cattle index is down a little bit, that cash cattle index, but cash has remained strong in both lives and feeders.
All right, Kenan, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, check us out on the web at agmarket.net and look for a broker in your area or sign up for some of our intel.
All right, Kenan, thank you so much for the information today, and we look forward to getting more great market analysis from you soon.
Thanks.
That again was Kenan Layden of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers closed through the market window at iowaagnet.com. September corn is up 1 1/4 at 403 3/4. August soybeans down 6 1/2 at 11.11 even. August soybean meal up 70 cents at 343.40. Soybean oil down 64 cents at 46.02. Chicago wheat up 4 1/4 at 547 even. Kansas City hard red wheat up 3/4 cent at 567 1/2. Minneapolis spring wheat down 4 3/4 at 610 3/4. September oats down 8 1/4 at 332 3/4. On the Merc, August live cattle up 60 cents at 186.90. August feeders down 162 at 257.12. August lean hogs up 12 cents at 93.77. Pork cutout up 90 cents at 104.70. And August class 3 milk up 20 cents at 20.46. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I talk with Brian Waddingham, the Executive Director of the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Recently, the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers conducted their annual research on the impact of the ag industry to Iowa's economy. Of course, we know that a lot of the economy in Iowa is based through agriculture, whether it's directly through being involved with the farming process or indirectly when it comes through labor jobs or even food processing. So we talked with Brian Waddingham, the Executive Director of the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers, to see what they found out from that report and what that means going forward. Well, we are here with Brian Waddingham. He's the Executive Director of the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers. Brian, great to have you on the network today. And you guys recently had a lot of data come out about the ag industry and some of the strengths we are seeing here in Iowa. If you could tell us a little bit of some of the highlights and the key points that we saw from those studies and what exactly that means for Iowa agriculture.
Yeah. Thank you, Riley. We just this week launched our 2024 Iowa Agriculture Economic Contribution Study results. And these results, we did our first one back in 2009, and it corresponds with the 2020, it corresponds with the Census of Agriculture every 5 years. And this year we had some exceptional numbers about agriculture here in the state of Iowa, both livestock and crops. Probably the biggest number is that we had $159.5 billion in total economic output this year. And that actually goes to 2022. And that is up over 34% from the previous study in 2017. So great things happening here with Iowa agriculture.
And we saw as well over 86,000 farms in Iowa, around 90% of those family owned. So not only is it great to see such a large contribution to the economy from agriculture, but a lot of that coming from the local Iowa farming families that we love to support, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like you said, we've got over the 86,000 family farms. And the exciting thing is when you really look at those numbers, it's actually 96% of the farms here in the state of Iowa are family owned and operated. And despite the the idea that farms just keep getting bigger and bigger, this census of ag data actually showed that the size of farms in Iowa decreased by 10 acres. So the average farm size now is 345 acres versus 355 acres back in 2017.
And this is such a massive thing for local communities as well. And I mean, this is a time in Iowa where we are seeing, large, even processing plants close down and a lot of people looking for jobs. And it's great to see that not only can agriculture provide the economic benefits to the state as well, to the communities, but having those jobs available, there's plenty of need for hardworking hands in agriculture.
Yeah, that's right. About 1 out of every 5 Iowans go to work today in agriculture. And I think that just speaks volumes for how important and how critical the field of agriculture is in our smaller communities throughout the state of Iowa. And you mentioned the economics of it. 1 out of every $3, so roughly 30% of the economic output here in the state is all due towards agriculture, raising livestock, raising crops, and all the processing that goes along with it.
And of course, you with the Coalition to Support Iowa Farmers, in the name, supporting Iowa farmers. So let's talk a little bit about the efforts that you guys have been making as well to support those Iowa farmers and, get those economic numbers up.
Yeah, so our primary mission is to help livestock farmers grow successfully and responsibly, whether it's siting new barns and feedlots, interpreting the rules and regs that apply to their farm, enhancing neighbor relations, or implementing best management practices like planting trees. We are here to help grow Iowa's livestock and poultry industry, and we get calls all the time to come out and work with farmers. And, maybe it's to bring the son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter back to the farm. But anytime you go to grow your farm or maybe diversify your farm a little bit and raise a different type of livestock or poultry, there are rules and regulations that apply. So that's one of the most common calls that we get today, is just to come out to my farm and help interpret the rules and regulations that I will have to abide by if I decide to grow my farm.
And Brian, for those of our farmer listeners, especially our livestock producers, would like to get in touch and learn more from the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers, how can they do that and where should they go?
The best way, you can go to our website, supportfarmers.com. You can contact us that way. You can also check out the latest Iowa Ag Intel data that we've been talking about, or you can give us a call direct at 800-932-2436.
Brian, lots of great news from this release. Thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today, and have a good one as we continue to see those efforts to grow ag's impact on the economy in Iowa.
Yeah, thank you, Riley.
That again was Brian Waddingham, the Executive Director of the Coalition to Support Iowa's Farmers. That's all the time we have for Ag Matters PM today. Thanks again for tuning in. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcasts, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential, which just released a new episode today. Find all of that on your favorite podcasting service at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Quentin Slater, Mark Magnuson, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.